All right, we are recording. Hey there, Daddy. I'm your Daddy Level 1. You know, there's going to be some study done in the future by psychologists of like people who pick their online persona names that makes other people say weird things. So, like, there's in my in the Venara Syndicate, my partner is Venev, and his wife goes by Butt Monkey because she thinks it's funny for everybody else to have to say Butt Monkey, and she's right, that is funny. But it's like, what does that say? What does that say about people? Anyway, this is the Monster Maverick show, and this is the show all about Splinterlands, about the earn side of play to earn, and there's a lot of stuff that's going on Splinterlands.tv. Oh, which reminds me, I'm supposed to go to Twitter and drop a link. Let me go do that. Tweet. Got the old Musk machine going here. Monster Maverick show is live. Splinterlands.tv/watch. Let's do that. All right. So that is linked. And we got Agrod in the house. Agrod is one of our illustrious founders of the Splinterlands, and we're going to be talking about Splinterlands. But this show is all about the, like I said, the earn side of play to earn, and not about gameplay or I don't stream battles, or sometimes I'll do pack openings. That's fun. But it's all about the economics and the macro environment and all those kinds of things. Because I'm a big nerd like that. So that's how it goes. Ackert says it's time to start the show. So if this is your first time tuning in, I'm Neil. I'm your host. Splinterlands Whale, day one OG. I'm 50% of the team behind X Chaos, which was a Chaos Legion launch pool with my partner Gerber. Half the team behind Venari Syndicate, which is a syndicate. It's an investment fund for accredited investors who want to deploy capital into the Splinterlands ecosystem and earn a yield. And in my day job, I actually sometimes do taxes, as do lots of things with spreadsheets. So I'm a numbers guy, is what it comes down to. So I look at Splinterlands from that perspective, and walk through kind of the things that are going on. And things have gotten more complex lately, just because of the backdrop macroeconomy of crypto, as well as this recession we're probably heading into. The 3 month, 10 years inverted, so that's has been a fairly reliable indicator that recession is imminent, and that's going to be not good. So we'll talk about all that stuff. But for now, let's hit the theme song. Alrighty. So, Luthien is here, Tamashan is here, Ali Nubu is here. Ali Nubu, I don't think I've seen you end the show before, but you're always welcome. So, you're not required to be a Maverick to enjoy the show, but, it's just most of the people with a lot of capital involved tend to be. So, that's just kind of how it works out. But, everybody's welcome. That's right, plebs like me. Yeah, everybody can enjoy it. It's like, and if you want to grow into a Maverick, maybe you do some of the things that we talk about and take some of the insights and apply them. So, one of the great success stories of the 2021 was Jens. So Jens was a guy who's, I think he's Dutch. I don't know. Anyways, European of some sort. And and he comes into the Splinterlands ecosystem. He takes a look at the tokenomics of what's going on, and he sees the airdrop, the SPS airdrop that we're having at the time, and how that was applied to the DEC balances. So if you had DEC, you got one airdrop point, per DEC, for getting airdropped SPS. And he just went in hard, and he bought DEC, got his SPS, sold the SPS, bought more DEC, and he just rolled it continually and made 7 figures on the thing. So it was kind of amazing to watch, and that's the kind of thing you can do if you are aware of what's going on and the math behind everything, and you're willing to take that level of market risk as well, because as we've seen, DEC has come tumbling down since then, since the airdrop ended. And there were lots of Mavericks at the time who were saying, this when the airdrop ends, DEC is going to go right back down to its traditional range of 400 splintoshis to 1,200 splintoshis, somewhere in there. And sure enough, it did. And we're going to be talking a lot about DEC, I think, today, because a lot of stuff has happened over the last week. Welcome, Extra Balls. First time watching live. Excellent. All right, so I actually wrote down a couple things to go over, and so I have something of an agenda. So let's go ahead and go to the crypto macro. So this, and by crypto macro, I really mean Bitcoin, right? Because Bitcoin is the dog that wags the tail that is the rest of the crypto market. I mean, it's the vast majority of market cap when it comes to cryptocurrencies. In fact, the Bitcoin dominance right now is 40.7. So 40% of all U.S. dollars worth of crypto is in Bitcoin, and and then the everything kind of trickles on down from Bitcoin, because most things are traded against either directly or by proxy. Bitcoin and to a degree Ethereum, and they tend to go fairly synchronously. So, when Bitcoin goes down, then the whole crypto market goes down. And we sure have seen that over the last month. And then in the last week, we had another nice little dip going from, 16.7 or so. And then it went all the way down to 15, what are we looking at? Low of 15,473. And this is the KuCoin chart. So, your Coinbase or Gemini's or whatever might be slightly different, but it'll be in the same kind of ballpark. And so that broke a lot of people's confidence, which is unfortunate. So much of the markets run on sentiment, meaning that how participants in the market feel about the future of whatever they're trading. That when a key line that we thought was going to hold doesn't, then that tends to ruin confidence. And so you can see we hit this low back here. That was 15,596, and the following day was 15,750. So this new low that was last night was actually a new low, for this move anyway. And so now the crypto Twitters and whatnot are talking about, next leg down, is it going to be 13,000? Is it going to be 10,000 or whatever? Who knows? But the point is that the sentiment is quite bearish. People are talking about what's the next move down, as opposed to are we at the bottom and are we recovering? So if I zoom out here to let's go here. So this goes back to previous market cycles. We can see that 10,000 was a pretty significant line. Has that round number bias. There's a lot of trading activity in that range, and even going back, to the prior bull cycle, 10 played a good resistance and support line back then. So, will that actually happen? Who knows? But the point is that people are not rushing into the crypto market in order to snap up bargains and find the next 100 bagger like they were a year ago, slightly more than a year ago. the very peak was almost exactly a year ago. It was November of 2021. So things have been all downhill since then. And Splinterlands, we had that announcement last week, and they had to lay off, I think they said 45% of their staff, which is obviously a large chunk. And, they have, yeah, I remember Agron had a tweet a long time ago about, I think it was when 3AC blew up, and they said that the tweet said something to the effect of, like, people asked me, how it is that Splitterlands has survived, 2 bear markets already. And the answer is, like, we don't go leverage long at the top, which is great. Don't go leverage long, like, ever, but definitely not at the top. And but they do still have crypto exposure. Obviously, a lot of the coins that come in, DEC, SPS are obviously part of the Splitterlands ecosystem. But people pay for stuff in Bitcoin and Ethereum and whatever else. So they they do have crypto exposure. So if they had revenue, back when crypto was high, and then crypto's gone down 75% for Bitcoin, or 90% in a lot of other coins, then obviously that hurts their balance sheet, and they can't. That shortens their ability to operate. So they let go of a good part of their staff, and the game's still running, which is great. They're still rolling out developments. We had a new maintenance update today, and on their usual Tuesday cycle. So things are happening, and there was a town hall yesterday where Yaba was on, and he was talking a lot about the things that they are focused on now as far as delivery, and they still have, I think they said 17 developers on 3 different teams. So there's still a lot of things in the works, which is great. But the flip side of all that is that crypto is down, DEZ is down, SPS is down, GLX is down as of the past couple of days. So what do we do about all of that? And I actually wrote a post on Saturday that I wanted to go over, in case anybody didn't read it. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's a lot, but I did want to kind of walk through it and explain kind of the reasoning, because a lot of people, when I say these kinds of things to people, like in the Mavericks chat or whatever, a lot of people are skeptical, I guess, and I don't think they understand, like, the full argument. So part of that was to explain all that, so people could have a reference of, like, why is it that DEC matters and SPS matters. And welcome to everybody coming in. Rick on the Mountain, Druids, Rickson, Extra Balls. It's another one of those names. Yeah, so I titled the post SPS Flywheel and How to Get There. So, market cycles are up, market cycles are down. We're obviously in a down cycle now. Are we at the bottom? Personally, I think we're kind of there. I'd say 70% chance that this is the cycle bottom, and then we'll grind sideways for a long time, and then a new bull market will come in. Cimarron is saying, what is your username for post, or do you only post on Leo? So okay, we'll talk about Hive for a second. So the username that I use on Leo Finance and PeakD and Ecency and Hive.blog are all the same. It's all Neil McSpadden. And different front ends all have access to the same information. They all can display the same posts. Now, certain front ends, like Leo Finance, trims the amount of posts that they will display, because they're a topical based tribe, meaning that, so Leo Finance is all about crypto and finance. So they will not display things that are not tagged with Leo Finance and are not tagged with one of the other relevant tags that they've selected. Hive.blog, PeakD, those are general purpose front ends. They will display everything on all topics. And so just different front ends are interacting with the Hive blockchain in different ways, and displaying different selections of content and organizing it in different ways, but they're all still Hive. So if you have a username on Leo Finance, you have the same username, same keys on PeakD, on Ecency, on Hive.blog, on any of the other ones. So I tend to talk about finance stuff, so I use Leo Finance primarily, and also I'm relatively involved in that community as well. So, but onto the post. So SPS Flywheel and how to get there. So I talk about how This is the cycle that we're in, and the biggest or the single biggest thing we can do is to get the SPS flywheel moving. And let me explain. My favorite movie, by the way, Princess Bride. If you haven't seen it, you should. Splinterlands is part of the crypto universe, and I do look forward to the day where it's really just a game, and people look at it that way primarily. But we're not there right now, so we're definitely part of part of the crypto ecosystem, and our users are primarily people coming from crypto. We do have some that come in from outside, from normie gaming and all that kind of stuff, but a relatively small amount. So what is the SPS flywheel? How does it help? So the SPS flywheel is what happens when DEC is at par value, meaning it's 1,000 Splintoshis, and the only way to get new DEC is to burn SPS. So, so imagine the scenario. So SPS peaked on launch day and has been grinding lower ever since, which is simply a description of what has happened. That's fairly normal for an inflationary governance token, and it is. And in this scenario, we see SPS bottom out at 2 cents. And then slowly it starts rising. It goes 2 cents to 3 cents to 4 cents to 6 to 9 to 13 to 20, 25. And before you know it, it has 10x'd, while Bitcoin and the rest of crypto is still going sideways, and bad projects are imploding left and right. And bad projects, there's obviously many varieties of those in the crypto world. We're dealing with the aftermath of the FTX implosion right now, but there's plenty of other bad projects out there that are probably insolvent. The latest thing on crypto Twitter today is people are expressing more and more skepticisms towards Grayscale, who have a trust where large entities who can't buy Bitcoin directly can buy Grayscale, and we promise that there's Bitcoin there, and we won't show you where, but we promise. So people are expressing more skepticism as all these other things have turned out to be faulty. So in that environment, let's imagine that SPS 10x's. And so now we have one of the largest players in the space, has a coin that 10x's, and that's the kind of thing that gets noticed. This is a rising price is its own marketing. And who's that marketing to? That's marketing to people who are aware of these kinds of things. People who are seeing these like if you log into an exchange and there's like a gain leader, and they see SPS there. People who are in DeFi and see SPS on Ethereum or SPS on Binance Smart Chain or BNB chain, whatever they're calling it now, and seeing these big moves come in. And it's not like this is some no market cap coin. This is a coin that already has $1 billion in circulation. It's already has a market cap of $50 million, or probably $40 million today. And so that rising price makes people sit up and pay attention. And so then they're going to say, oh, what's going on in Splinterlands that is causing this to happen? And then they'll come in and investigate. And some portion of those people will decide to come in and be part of our ecosystem, and then bringing in fresh capital that helps buoy everything else. So that's the net effect that I'm talking about, and what I'm looking for, in order to get this whole thing working. So, too much. So how will the SPS flywheel actually do this? So I'll go through a bit of an example here. So let's pretend DEC's at 1,050, 0.001050. And the SPS burn mechanism will create a profitable arbitrage loop. So you can take a dollar's worth of SPS, and that's time-weighted average price over the last hour, and you can burn that dollar's worth of SPS, and you get 975 DEC. So that 975 DEC you can then sell into the liquidity pools or on the bid-ask market, and you would, at those prices, you would get out. If we're assuming that it was 20 SPS, you would get out 20.4. So that 0.4 is your profit, and then you can repeat that over and over and over again until it's no longer profitable, and the price of DEC has dropped to about 1023, and then so that has a couple of effects. So effect number one is that it keeps a lid on the price of DEC. So we have mechanisms to support the price of DEC and push it up, and we have mechanisms to cap DEC and push it down, and keep DEC in that tradable, usable stable-ish range. And so this is the mechanism on the high side. So that keeps that intact. And then on the SPS side, what happens is, well, somebody went out and burned the SPS, and then they bought more, right? So there was buying and burning rather than buying and selling, and that creates a permanent upward pressure for that amount of SPS that was bought into the market space. So, when that pressure overcomes the amount of pressure that comes from daily inflation and selling, then the price will start to move up. And if this SPS flywheel gets moving enough, then all of the volatility that comes in from people wanting to use DEC gets funneled into the price of SPS, and only in an upward direction. So, depending on the numbers, obviously that can move markets, a lot. And we have a market cap of $40 million dollars of SPS, but the actual amount involved in trading, the amount in liquidity pools and all that kind of stuff is 4 million, 5 million, something like that. And that's half SPS and half BUSD, or half I forget what it's trading on ETH. I think it's ETH and DAI on the Ethereum chain. And then in Hive Engine on that exchange, there's multiple pools, but a lot of it's swap.hive and DEC itself. So, when we have that amount of liquidity, it doesn't take that much buying pressure in order to lift the whole thing. And there will be arbitraging between the pools as well. And for those people who know how to do that, there can be profit opportunities there as well. But you got to be quick, and those are like scalp kind of things. A lot of people code bots in order to do those kinds of tradings. But if we get enough of this activity going, then SPS rises. That attracts attention. That attracts other people. Those other people attract capital, and then we're all much happier than we were. So that's the idea, right? That's the idea behind the SPS flywheel, and the rest of this post is different ideas about how to get there, right? Because right now DEC has, we had the Rooney mint and we had the Lux Vega mint, and for the near term, there's nothing new that's coming out that people feel the need to hold DEC for, and so DEC has gone down from 900 splintoshis to, what are we at, 600 something, 629 as of the last refresh here on Splinter Cards. So in the post I collected 3 of the ideas that I saw people talking about, and I think it's worth going through them because some of them seem to have been picked up by the team. So DEC bonds for land. This is a misleading title, and I apologize for that. But basically, this is like locking in your DEC at a discount. So some people I saw afterwards talking about, bonds are securities and blah blah blah. It's like that's not what this is, right? This is just prepaying DEC today for a discount, so that we can use it for things in the future, like lands, anything basically that you can burn DEC for. Because we don't know when these other things are coming out. We do know lands are a priority. Yaba talked about that yesterday, and we're hoping to get version 0.5 out here in the next month or so, and then versions 1 and subsequent, in 2023 sometime. So, but we do know that we're going to need DEC for upgrades and lands. We're going to have all these different buildings. We're going to have to, I imagine, we don't know the details, but I imagine we're going to have to get the building. We're going to have to upgrade the building. We're going to have to, allow for different resource extractions. Whatever it is, DEC is going to play a large role, and I know that, and I've got a ton of land. So if I had a discount, there's already a discount, right? Because I could buy DEC today with a certain amount of US dollars, but obviously that amount of demand is not sufficient for people to be going in enough to raise the price. So Dragon's talking about guilds. Yes, guild buildings also burn DEC, so I think that would all qualify. Now that we have SPS for brawls, I'm actually looking at organizing some guilds myself, and we just got some changes to the brawl phrase, like the formats of the different brawls within, or the formats of the different phrase within a brawl. So that's all looking pretty attractive. And for myself, if I had this way to discount DEC from its current price and lock it in so that I have use of it later, then that sounds great. I know for me, I would be locking up 100 grand a day, because I have a large collection and I rent it out, and that's kind of what I make. So the Flesh Golem Guild is coming. Flesh Golems are Matt Clark, but yeah, maybe. Flesh Golem is the only alpha gold foil that I don't have, or common anyway, that I don't have maxed, which is still upsetting to me 4 years later, but whatever. So yeah, so I in the chat, Clayboyne was making the point that it's like, well, why don't you just put your DC in the liquidity pool? And there's actually two reasons to not do that. So one is that yes, you will earn a yield, and maybe that yield will be greater than the actual discount that you get today. It's debatable, but one, you have impermanent loss. If or as DEC recovers its par value. So if I buy DEC today and it's say 650 100,000 DEC, not USD. If it was USD, we'd have a whole different show. So if I buy DEC today at 650 Splintoshis and I pair it against whatever SPS or BUSD or something, then as the price of DEC goes up and recovers towards par value, I actually have less of it in the pool and I have more of the other thing. So if I'm looking to use a fixed amount of DEC, then that could end up biting me in the butt come whenever that time is to use. So that's one element. And the other element is that, yes, there is yield that could make it come out equivalent to having just a flat discount on the front end, but that requires me to reinvest the yield and do it consistently and not screw myself up over however long it is. So that human element makes it actually a lot harder to pull off. Whereas if I buy it and lock it in today, it's done, and I don't have to worry about it again. It frees up all that mental space. So I think that would be a great use for DEC today. That effectively all it's doing is it's having a sale, right? It's just pulling forward the demand from whenever lands comes out or for whenever people want to upgrade their guilds or whatever it is, and pulling that forward to today to support the price today in a bear market, as opposed to expecting that demand later in that bull market. And considering we need to go through the bear in order to get to the bull, then I think that makes sense. So that's the DEC bond idea. Maybe it should be called, gift cards or whatever. I don't know. Buying. So Dragon says buying and locking in should be enough incentive, wouldn't it? Believing in the project, this seems reasonable. Yeah, I mean it's enough for me. Will it be enough to raise the whole price of DEC? I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. I know Yaba and Agro talked about it on the AMA yesterday, or the town hall rather. So I do think it sounds like this is probably going to be a go, and I'm looking forward to spending that DEC. So that was idea number one. Idea number two was cheap promos. So this is also something that is on the team's radar. Ag mentioned a year-end promo that they were kicking around that hopefully will be a thing. Obviously, there's lots of different ways they can do promotions. I want to stress that it should be in DEC. That's the whole point of this thing. So a Halfling Alchemist is literally my favorite card. And I think it's the best card in the game. It was a promotion back for the most recent Bitcoin halving, whatever that was, 2019, 2020, something. And the reason I like the promos so much is because, well, especially Halfling Alchemist, is because it's very limited edition. And that means, one, that it has some rarity value, but that's not even the most important part for me. For me, the most important part of having a limited edition card is that it's limited, and the fact that not everybody is able to get them. So I'm people complain about bots all the time, right? And they can play game 3 optimal decks, and they're too hard to beat, and et cetera, et cetera. All the things that have been gone over ad nauseum in the Discord chat. Part of the way that they are able to play in that game 3 optimal way is because they have very strong predictions as to what the opponents can play, given a certain rule set and given a mana cap and all that kind of stuff. So by having limited edition cards, that increases the variety and uniqueness among different decks that are played by players all across the game ecosystem. So the more differences there are between decks, the less predictable any one opponent becomes. And so for me, that is hugely beneficial, and that lowers any particular single team from being optimal to being just good, right? Because you set up a match, and then you select your team, and then you say, oh, my opponent has a Halfling Alchemist. I didn't plan for that because most people don't, right? So now, is that going to screw up my lineup? Is that going to cause me to lose where I thought I would win? So all those kinds of things. I want more of that kind of conversation going on in your head. And Temeshan says, until you get to champ and everyone has every card regardless of the price of the promo. Right, because, there's too many. So by having a limited edition, ideally we want, even in the champion leagues, we want there to be differences between decks rather than everybody having the same cards. Now, in tournaments, you can have stock cards. I did the NASCAR tournaments way back when, and, Weird Beard is doing these ghost card tournaments now, where it's like, okay, if we want to have a tournament where it's a true test of just how good you can use the cards, then great. Everybody has the same stuff, and, more power to you. But for ranked play, I think having different things adds to the experience rather than subtracts from it. And, side benefit, it makes it harder to run a bot successfully because you have to be more cognizant of all these things. And then the third one was community-generated skins. So I'm a huge fan of skins. Before the SPS airdrop, there was this the Splinter Storm theme group that you could get skins for your cards, and this is the Lion and Natura skin from that set. And there was before the SPS airdrop, 5 of them had sold, so people were not excited about it. But then there was SPS airdrops, and it's okay, people have a financial incentive in order to get them. And so then they sold out, and that's been the case since. And skins are great. They allow for more personality to be shown. You can individualize your deck, and it's just cool to have your own stuff. And so on the one side, people like skins, people want skins, and on the other side, the designers, the Splinterlands team, they're busy. So by having community-generated skins, then it allows for people to create their own artwork and then submit it to the Splinterlands team for deployment into the game. But there's problems. Druid says, all skinned up. So the problems are, not every skin is fair, right? We don't want to have anything obscene. We don't want to have a skin that's just invisible, where you can't see what the cards are. So there needs to be some kind of review process. So to me, I thought, well, this is a perfect case for the DAO, where we could vote up or vote down, individual skins as whether they are one, they look enough like the base thing in order to be recognizable, and two, if we just like them or not. So by having that community review, that takes a lot of the workload off of the Splinterlands team and puts it onto the community, which I think is fine. And I know Nate had said something about how, the art assets, there's certain things they have to have in order to be usable in-game, about the animations and that kind of stuff. I was we could figure that out. But, the community is very smart. And, if you give them the parameters, I'm sure they could figure out whatever it is. Okay, here's Yaba saying the issue isn't creating the artwork, it's the development work needed to implement skins in a better way in the game. The current system is very old and doesn't work with the new non-card market and doesn't allow for new skins to be added easily, so it's a matter of dev priorities. Alright, fair enough. I think it should still be a priority. And Yaba is our other illustrious founder. So that's good to have both of them here. And and then people chimed in the comments, with other ideas. The one idea was for a title, just like a burning title. So like if you burn 1,000,000 DEC, you get a special in-game title. Which some people were saying that it's like, well, I don't have any other titles, so this would be cool. I could do that. And and the point of this is not to be like an exhaustive list. The point is that there's not going to be any single magic bullet. The memo was land. Yes, land is top priority, and I agree with that top priority. But I'm sure there's some time to get some skins in there. But there's not going to be any magic bullet. But if we can implement some of these easy things, then I think we could go a long way towards creating enough market demand in order to support the price of DEC and get us towards that par value and start the flywheel going. That was the whole thing. So like on the AMA yesterday, I know Yaba and Agro talked about the DEC stuff. They talked about a year-end promo of some sort. I never said we should stop working on land. Do not put that out there in the universe. And then one of the more interesting things that was being talked about was soulbound rewards cards. So I'm gonna just paraphrase what I think I heard was that. So once the current rewards cards are done with their prints, the new rewards cards will be designed, and then as you earn them, just like normal rewards cards, they will be soulbound to your account up until they are max level. Once they're max level, then you can if you can keep using them as is, or you can burn them for DEC. So that's a dramatic change, right? Because a large part of the rewards, especially at the lower levels, is in rewards cards, and we've all seen the bot farms who have collected tens of thousands of each reward card, and then just sell them into oblivion. If we go to the marketplace right now, not sure what the current prices are. Peak monsters. There is a new test environment for the non-card market, which I haven't looked at yet. Maybe we should do that. But let's go to the buy and rewards. And what do we got? So let's look at the commons here for a second. So Venari Heatsmith is on the low end at half a cent as the market value. That's because it's got a multi, so about 1 cent roughly for singles. And then if we go up, those are untamed. So Pellicor Conjurer looks like the top at 1.8 cents. And if we look at, let's look at some epics. And I'm really only caring about the Chaos Legion ones here. So the low end, we've got Jin Renova, 7.5 cents. And wow, Fire Spitter is a beta reward and all the way down there. That's amazing. And Uraeus at the top end at 12.5 cents. So maybe 13 cents. So these are not high prices, especially when you compare them to like Core Edition Chaos Legion. Let's just look at the Chaos Legion epics. So the lowest there is the Temporal Master, 18 cents, and the I guess Wave Brood here, $1.58. So you can see how the core editions are much higher than the rewards cards, even though they're Chaos Legion rewards. And it's basically just the nature of the supply of them, and how the most of the farmers are just selling them into the market, basically hammering the price down as much as possible. So if we change this and we get soulbound rewards cards, then all of that supply disappears off the market. The only way to get those cards and use that competitive advantage for any particular card is to earn them through battle. So that's a big change. There's a couple of knock-on effects of how this might develop. But let's see what Tales from Cryptmancer says. 3 issues to address with Soulbound rewards cards, removal of play and earn mechanics for new players, consistent downward selling pressure on SPS, ability for future players to have access to meta cards, Korra, Kraken, etc. I mean, those are all fair points. So, so if you're a farmer and you were selling rewards cards and you can't do that anymore, and you still want to, earn a, I don't know if you heard a glass breaking back there. You still want to earn a a return, then you're going to be selling something, right? And that something's going to be SPS, because that's basically the only other thing. Merits are soul bound, and potions are soul bound. So they're going to be, if they're not already selling all their SPS, they will turn to selling SPS. And then ability for future players to have access to meta cards. Yeah, you got to be here to earn it, basically. It's just is what it is. And so if you want one of those cards that you don't have, then you're out of luck. And removal of play and earn mechanics. Well, that's the same thing with selling, right? Because how are you going to earn and capture value that you can't? So obviously, if you play enough in order to max them out, then you can burn them for DEC and you get the value out that way. That's fine. It does make me wonder. We're mostly cutting off the inflation of DEC, so this will be a new source of DEC that is not currently there. Yes, you can burn cards today, but it's not going to be anywhere near the same, relative amounts. But I don't know. It'll be an interesting thing to see, and I'm wondering, how many of the farmers will just quit and say, well, there's been enough changes, and I'm not earning like I used to, and we've seen different waves of quitting from the farmers over time, and well, actually, let's see what the player or active players is these days. I haven't actually looked at this much. So yeah, we're at 160,000. So at the peak, this was like 500,000, and so 350,000 have evaporated over time through churn and through large chunks of that is bot farms shuffling things around and collating into fewer accounts. And Cimarron says, but as Matt said, this is a change overall from ROI comparison to having a good game. The Soulbound is more gameplay. The tournaments can have reward cards available for competitive play without worry of devaluing cards. It rewards players who have been here. The game needs more Soulbound. Yeah, that is kind of the perspective. It's like there's a large shift, or the things Yabba was talking about on the town hall was to shift the emphasis from play to earn from more just play, right, and less about the rewards. But I'm not sure how much you can realistically do that, because it is a crypto game. There are sellable tokens and all this kind of things. So there's always going to be this economic aspect to it, and I think the economy is actually the most fun part of the game. So it's obviously not everybody agrees with that, but enough people do, I think. And Jimmy's saying farmers will likely start selling accounts with these cards in them. That's certainly possible. Tamashon says, if there's a long list of cards that are unobtainable, why would a new player come in when they can never earn or buy the cards to be competitive? That's not really fundamentally any different than it is now. I mean, nobody's going to be buying, nobody buys alpha cards. There's no volume in the market there, even though technically they could, but realistically, they're not going to spend that kind of money. So there's not everybody has to have everything, and that increases differentiation between decks, and I think that's okay. Cimarron says that is a risk for the buy since the farmer can recover the account at any time. Well, the secondary market has actually taken care of that reasonably well. Because that's a long-standing issue. Moving on to moving sales off the game market onto Web2-based black markets of account selling. So dramatic. But yeah, there are. I mean, if you go into any of the bot discords, there are people selling accounts all the time. That's already a thing. What if we earn some kind of soulbound credit to use to buy new reward cards, and they were not rotated out but always available? That's interesting. That sounds like it adds another layer of complication, but I can see how that would work. You'd have to work in something with the lore, but yeah, it's I could see that happening, or just make them available for purchase just straight with DEC. That could work. Uh, Luthien says she buys alpha cards, particularly animated corpses. Okay, the very cheapest ones. Fair enough. Tamashun says, I just bought a Valnamore a few months ago. It took me years to plan for it. If I could never have finished my Alpha Beta collection, I never would have started this game. Okay, that's... I think these are reasonable points. And I'm a fan of markets in general. So, if you could buy, the Soulbound cards with DEC that basically just burns the DEC, then that would be another sink. And I'm okay with that. I like it. Just another sink and trying to move the flywheel some more. So yeah, obviously there's all the kinds of balance questions that would have to go into that. Yeah, we're not talking about card out of packs, just rewards cards. Yes, that would be just the rewards. Option one, I guess, would be to reconfigure the rewards to balance with no rewards cards, and you just get a replacement token instead. Kind of like how we're doing with merits. In fact, maybe just use merits, and you could buy Gladius packs, or you could buy individual rewards cards. I don't know, but that doesn't help DEC at all. And the other option is just to issue straight soulbound rewards cards. I don't know, but I think it's worth exploring. Like I said in the post, this is not a be-all, end-all kind of list. These are just, ideas that I think are worth exploring. All that said, still do Lance. Lance is still number one. We want that, as soon as is reasonably possible. Rick of the Mountain says, the thing I don't care for about it is the combination with the level penalties for earnings. It means the rewards cards are unusable when released. Yeah, I mean... when you get a new rewards card and it's level 1 and you're in gold, then yeah, unless it's hugely beneficial, it's not going to be worth playing until you get enough of them to level up where you're not penalized for using it. So yeah, that's something that you'll have to juggle, I guess. Cimarron says, not true, it's based on everyone, so if everyone is using the same level R share, don't change per person. Yeah, I mean, that's true, but that's an unlikely situation, I think. The change where your R shares for battles changes depending on what level of cards you use is new. I think we got that a week ago. So I'm obviously people are still going to be figuring that out. So I think it's pretty unlikely that people would use underlevel cards unless they gave such a significant advantage to winning the battle that it was worth using, because fundamentally win first, right? That's number one priority. That's going to maximize your rewards, and only secondarily will it be optimize your R shares, because if it's the difference between, I used all level cards and I lost, or I used some underlevel cards and I won, use the underlevel cards, right? Okay, so those are just some of the ideas, and keep discussing everything in Discord. Comment on the posts. We have a lot of comments, actually. There's 40 something. Obviously some of those are my responses, but people are engaged, and that's kind of what I wanted to see. And Yeb is also saying that will be a short-term problem. Also, yes, just battle more, level up. And Rick's got to run. Good to have you. And we're actually near the end, anyways. So before we run out of time, I do want to hit the spreadsheet just to go over the numbers so we can see what is going on here. So from last week, we are down another 9%. Is the TLDR. Down $17 million in market cap, with a couple exceptions. I mean, everything was down pretty much double digits, and some of the big ones like DEC is down 23%, SPS is down 11%, and I was actually looking at how much SPS are we actually printing, and so I looked at last week compared to this week. We went up 5 million, and I annualized that out. Right now we're at 30% inflation. in terms of SPS. And if you want to look at the actual chart that I have going back to, April or so, I don't remember what this burn was, but it was something. But we've been pretty much on this trend line, for a while, and yeah, that's actually a bit lower than I thought it was going to be. So 30%, not too bad. So down overall 9%, down $17 million. If we actually look at the chart here, lowest market cap overall since I started tracking this back in April of 2022. Highlights, I guess, rare totems and epic totems, those were up 50 and 64%. And the burn was nodes, right? That makes sense. Speaking of nodes, there was I have my little MAC ratio thing, basically saying if you had $1 and you had something to buy, what's the most cost-effective thing to do, based on current prices. And the list I had here was nodes, tower defense packs, and plots, because all of those got these SPS pools assigned to them. And at first, the Nightmare tower defense packs were far and away the winner. But that has leveled off quite a bit, because one, the price of nodes have come down on the secondary market, and more tower defense packs have been sold, so that there's more competition for that pool, and that brings down the any one pack's share of that million per month pool. So pretty much neck and neck right here with nodes and TD packs. But then, so I was doing this earlier today, and then I got to thinking, it's like, well, sort of, because when you claim your rewards for nodes or TD packs or plots, those go into your staked SPS, and your staked SPS now pays SPS, it pays vouchers, and it pays GLX. And the GLX is obviously a new thing, and that GLX, if you stake that, has its own yield in additional GLX. So it gets complicated, right? Because really, in order to construct the true APY, you need to forecast out all the token flows and the prices on those future dates, which will then build on those assumptions and all those kind of things. So it's not a very straightforward thing to look at anymore. But what we can do is we can go to Splinter Cards. Splinter Cards has a great staking calculator, which doesn't work into the nodes, but like if you know that you're going to get however many SPS, it's going to be I don't have it individually, but you get a bunch. So let's say you stake 1,000 SPS, right? You check that, and you can see that you get an 85% APR at today's prices in SPS, vouchers, and GLX. But then let's say you take that GLX, right? So you take that 0.592, and then you stake that. So that gives you a 1,300% APR on that portion. So it's appreciate me having dark mode on. Yeah, I actually found that earlier today. I was like, this is just too bright. My eyes, they can't take them. So if you buy some of these assets, nodes or nightmare packs or land plots, now you have this additional stream of tokens in the form of GLX, and if you stake them at current rates, we're at 1,300% on that reward portion. And according to I have another sheet on GLX which I don't have up at the moment, but basically for the emissions rate that we have and the different pools that I'm expecting to come online over the next several months for GLX, basically a token you buy today is going to give you about 9.5 tokens in a year if you just compound or stake and compound continually. So that's a lot, So what will GLX be worth at the end of that year? No idea, but I think it's going to be more than a penny. Just just gut feeling. If you look into the tokenomics there of GLX, you can tell that some of the lessons that have been learned from the SPS, as far as the relative ratios of things and how long to do everything. So, the supply of GLX is not is not as aggressively put onto the market as SPS was. So there's relatively less to sell into the market over a given period of time. So like the pack staking pool is only going to be what was it, 100,000 a day or something. And once the play to earn goes, the play to earn is going to be like 50,000 a day, and the nodes are going to be like 50,000 a day. They're going to last for 65 months, so overall it's a good chunk. But it's just, I think it's much more cleverly put together. So I think there's going to be less selling pressure compared to what we saw in SPS. And then we also have the GLGT token, which nobody has a price for yet. And I don't know if there's going to be a price or if there's just going to be, using internally for purchasing other things, and GLX is going to have the same burn mechanism as SPS does for DEC for GLUSD, but there's no existing overhang of DEC or of GLUSD like there is for DEC. So they're starting fresh and are able to implement a lot of these mechanics that I think will make a lot more sense. And be a lot easier to implement on the GLX side, because it doesn't have this baggage with all the historical things that have happened with DEC and SPS and all those kinds of things. So I'm fairly optimistic that we'll be over 1 cent for GLX in a year. So what that tells me is that anything under 10 cents is a buy. And right now we're at what are we at, like 17 cents? Where do I go? Let's go to BSwap. Let's go to the pools. GLX. So this is hard to see. The pool price is we're down to 11 cents, almost to the buy range for me. I think it was 17 yesterday, maybe. So yeah, worth looking at. And so like in the Venari Syndicate, we were looking at our assets, and we had some cash sitting there. I was like, well, what are we going to do? We could buy nodes, we could do this, we could do that. We actually bought SPS and staked it because of this mechanic right here, and earning the GLX and staking some and selling some there. So it's working pretty well. We'll see how that evolves, and whether the APR, obviously the APR is, it's 1,300% is a function of the fact that there is very little supply still, because the initial pools have just started, and that'll come down. But even after a year, it'll still be like 99%, in GLX terms, because of just the way they have structured the emission schedules. So I'm fairly optimistic that will work out well. And provides additional utility for SPS, which is great. And also, when we think, very long term, over the next 5 years, let's say, which, for crypto is essentially infinity, I'm going to say that, the SPS right now is, 3.8 cents, the last time I looked. Do I think that over the next 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, that there will be more things like GLX that come out from the Splinterlands universe and will reward my SPS stake? I don't know the answer to that, but I think the answer is probably going to be probably. So I know Agrid and Yab are focused on delivering everything in Splinterlands right now, but this too shall pass. If you go back to the beta days, I was talking about how we're in a period where prices are very low, market sentiment was very bad, and this is the time to buy. I feel that way again. I feel like this is the time to be buying buying SPS if you want to accumulate a stake. If you already had a stake, great, but if you're looking to build more, it's a cheap time. If you're looking to pick up a lot of cheap cards, Chaos Legion's relatively inexpensive right now. It's going to be in use in Modern for a while, at least another year and a half. So I think it's worth looking at. And Yaba says, that's the plan. We have so many cool ideas, but land first. Land should be reward SPS holders more than anything else, though. Fair enough, but there's going to be lots of stuff. And with that, that brings us to the end of the show. And we're going to need DEC. We're going to need it, even though it's cheap right now. So thanks, everybody, for hanging out. We'll talk to you next week.